Big day for me and my wife today because we launched our new cookbook. The first one is called Zhuzh. This one is called Zhuzh Faking It. Now, just before, hang on, whoa, slow down. I know my producer's going to go, stop trying to get free punts in for your book. I'm not trying to do that. Not at all. Look at that. Okay. The reason why I brought it in tonight was because one of the stories in it is about Bryan Adams. And it's got to do with tonight's show. I know you're saying, what the hell has cooking and Bryan Adams got to do with a finance show? I'll tell you what it's got to do with a finance show. Bryan Adams came into the studio on my last day when I was on air on 94.7 Highveld Stereo. And I was sitting talking to him. He wasn't on my show, he was on Alex J's show. And I was sitting chatting to him in the studio, and we were talking about a whole lot of things, and I brought up ice hockey, the Vancouver Canucks, which is my team, my ice hockey team. And he said, how the hell do you know about the Vancouver Canucks? And I said, because we've got an apartment in Vancouver. And he said, you're kidding me. I said, no. He said, where? And I told him where. And he said, you're kidding me. I said, no. And he said, what number? And I told him which number. And he said, I'm one floor above you. So, hey, that's my neighbor, Brian. We call him Bry for short. Nice guy. The reason why I bring that up is because this has been coming up over and over again. The whole thing about international properties. Should you be getting into that market? Shouldn't you? Where should you be getting in? How should you be getting in? And what are the pitfalls? And also, what are the benefits? Chris Immelman, MD, International Project Division at Pam Golding Properties, and Charles Duminy, Director, Hayes Matkovich and Associates, are our guests in the studio this evening. Good evening, gentlemen. Should we be in international property? I can see both of you are going to say no.
No, we're both going to say yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure we should be. We should be.
You guys have got interests. Okay, from a Pam Golding point of view, you can literally sell anywhere in the world.
Correct.
You guys are mainly invested in the islands.
In Mauritius.
In Mauritius, yeah.
Correct.
Why did you go for Mauritius in particular?
Jeremy, we thought Mauritius presented a great balance of the different advantages to offshore property investment. At the end of the day, offshore investment comes down to the needs of the client. Whether it's pure investment or is it a holiday home, is it a safety net in case guys need to emigrate? What are the reasons for which guys are looking to emigrate, to invest offshore? And Mauritius presented a fantastic opportunity to us to be able to present to the South African market an option where it's somewhere that's close, it's potentially an opportunity to run a business there, potentially an opportunity to move your family there, and benefit from offshore tax regimes, etc. And it's also a nice loophole within the South African system whereby we're generally restricted by our offshore allowances, but we're able to invest in countries like Mauritius without any effect on that offshore allowance. So it was a nice loophole for us. It was a nice opportunity for us to bring something new to the South African market. I know Chris and Pam Golding are also heavily involved in Mauritius, so there's more than one company convinced that there's an opportunity there for South Africans.
The Mauritius is part of the whole SADC area, so your investment is not sort of bound by legislation in South Africa, is that
No,
right?
not at all. I think as Charles was saying earlier, is that normally you would be restricted about what you can take out per time or per year, as it is now. Of course, we all know it's 4 million rand per person, that's 8 million rand per couple you can take out every year to invest wherever you like to invest. But you can take that out now in addition to whatever you invest in any SADC country. So we're invested in Mauritius and Seychelles primarily. And that doesn't affect that allowance. So, that adds that sort of extra little benefit for anybody that wants to invest money overseas.
Now, Charles was talking about different reasons for people investing offshore. What is the primary reason here? Is there a primary reason?
I think there are two real reasons here. One is as a rand hedge, and so people are viewing it and saying, well, long term, where's the rand going to be? So it's a real rand hedge. You can now buy in dollars overseas. And the other one is there's a little bit of a sense of should I create a bolt-on? Should I create an opportunity where I invest some of my assets outside of South Africa so that they're not all in the same basket, so to speak? And I think those are the real reasons. The other reason, I suppose, is the residency reason, because you qualify for residency both for Mauritian and Seychelles residency. And, you know, that does play a factor, you know, in people's long-term thinking of where to invest. And it certainly has worked, and we've seen it. It's been very successful.
How difficult is I mean, from a legal point of view, how difficult is it to acquire these properties? Let's stick right now with the Mauritius option.
Sure.
Okay, we'll go to other countries in a moment. But how difficult legally is it to get through? How many hoops do I have to jump through to acquire a property?
No, the mechanism to get your money into Mauritius is pretty well established now. It's an application that we run through the Reserve Bank rather than through the South African Revenue Services. It's purely an application to them to say you'd like to invest in a holiday home in your individual capacity, and the Reserve Bank will then grant you a yay or nay based on their history with the development and also an assessment of your own position. To date, we haven't had any person declined. There are a couple of legal boxes that you need to tick. Clients need to be able to produce a police clearance certificate, a medical certificate, and then a full range of what's called the Know Your Client documentation sets, so that the Mauritian authorities and the South African authorities are both happy that you are who you say you are and that you are investing in this as a holiday home, because that is the one restriction that they place on your investment out there.
Okay, now I've got there are two words that don't mix here.
Sure.
Holiday home and investment.
Okay.
I'm not sure that those two are compatible, to be honest. I would look at an investment being a place that is rented out.
Yeah.
Because then you've got income.
Yeah, yeah. A little bit of both, and yeah, I take your point. I mean, holiday home per se is not an investment. In fact, it's a drain. Let's be honest about that. But there are mechanisms and well found mechanisms in Mauritius, particularly where we have rental pools, so that people can hand the key straight back to a rental pool manager and say, look after my property whilst I'm not here, so that I can generate some interest. So if you add that, your leisure component to it, your fun, your holiday that you're having, together with an investment component whilst you're not there, somebody's looking after it, managing it for you, and getting you some return, and you're adding all of that together, plus the capital uplift, of course, because this is sort of new territory. There's big capital uplift here. And you put that whole package together. In fact, the guys have shown real good returns since inception. I mean, we've been there since 5-6 years ago, where guys have doubled their money. In Tamarina Golf Estate, for example, guys have doubled their money after 2-3 years of taking the keys. So, I mean, that's real good investment. It's come off a little bit now, admittedly. But, yeah, I mean, one normally doesn't associate a holiday home with an investment. But Mauritius has offered that opportunity, and we've demonstrated that. I don't know if you will agree with that, John.
I would, and I would add to that as well, Chris, in that in the entire Mauritian IRS market, that's the Integrated Resort Scheme developments, which is the area of the island that foreigners are allowed to invest in. In the history of the scheme.
Hang on, just before you go on.
Sure.
These now are investments. This is not fractional ownership or anything like that.
Pure outright full title ownership.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to get that clear, because to me this fractional title, this is just another timeshare policy.
Sure.
So, and that to me is not an investment.
Sure. No, it's full
you,
title.
you may disagree with me, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
This is full title.
Full title, outright ownership. Most of them freehold. But since 2002, which is when the legislation was introduced, there hasn't been a single IRS property resold by the buyer for less than he paid for it. And you can't show me another market in the world where that's happened.
From a pricing point of view, and I want to move on to other areas in just a moment, but let's stick with this, because Mauritius seems to be a little bit of a hotspot at the moment. Mauritius, Seychelles, I know you guys have got Eden Island is pumping its way through in Seychelles. I actually went and saw it about a year and a half ago.
Like it?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. Very different to what we're used to from a pricing point of view, because suddenly you've got to think in dollars. Are these things, I know you're saying that people have doubled their money and all the rest of it, but to get in, you need a serious amount of TOM.
Yeah, I mean, there are two schemes. I think Charles just touched on the one. The one's called the IRS scheme, Integrated Resort Scheme. And in Mauritius, they've now reduced what they call the RES scheme, residency scheme, where the price entry levels are a lot lower. So you will now find holiday apartments starting at $300,000. The trick with that is, or the difficulty with that is, you do not qualify for residency. You have to buy something at a minimum price of $500,000 to qualify for residency. So you don't qualify for residency, but the price points have come down. So the entry levels now are around $300,000 and not at the $500,000 or the higher end villas, which are typically over $1 million. So it has, you know, I mean, they've just, you know, sort of appeal to the market, you know. So where should the price point be? And the price point, we've told them, price point should come down. The market's bigger, many more sales, many more people come into the market. So it has been.
How is Eden Island doing?
Brilliantly, absolutely. We sold almost $300 million worth of property there today. I think it's about 275 homes have been sold. So we finished with sort of one half of the island is now done and occupied and complete. You know, people living there, you know, that kind of thing. So
what percentage South Africans do you reckon, Chris?
45% South Africans.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. And then the next best is French, because they're, you know, natural affinity, you know,
Yeah.
French colony and so on. And then Italians, believe it or not, there's a lot of Italians that go there, so we sold into the Italian market. And after that, it's more there are a lot of Russians, particularly the high-end Russians. Some Africans are bought there. So a mixed bag, but 45% South African, yeah.
And you guys in your Mauritius developments, I mean, you're now going ahead with La Belize.
Yeah, La Belize, and
on
we've got
Black River.
Yeah, and we've got Villas Valriche, which is the Gulf estate
Right.
in the Bellorme region.
What sort of mix have you got there?
We're about 60% South African buyers.
So the guys are putting money into US dollars and into property offshore. That's patently obvious.
Yep.
Are they using it or are they renting it? What's your gut feel? What's the reason for them buying it?
Yeah, Jeremy, it's a combination of factors. You know, I mentioned some of them earlier, but in addition to that, the South African property market for the last 3 or 4 years has been at something of a plateau, to be kind. So guys are looking for alternative destinations to invest in. You know, the huge majority of the people who've bought these places are looking to use it at some point, but not necessarily to use it for 10 months of their year.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to use it for 3 months and spend the rest of the time in South Africa. Maybe they're going to spend 9 months and spend the rest of their time in South Africa. There are guys who will never spend a day there. But for a variety of reasons, guys have found it an attractive place to put their money, to put a substantial amount of their money as well. And a lot of them look to the knock-on benefits of perhaps housing a business there and moving their family there without having to formally immigrate as well.
And also, by the sound of things, making a fair amount of money. We'll go a little bit further abroad, talking about international property. And let's try and drill down into what you should be looking at and how you should be doing it.